knew as soon as I'd been hit that my jaw was broken.
This minute I felt a little bit of blood like splat on me.
I've had one steward assaulted this year.
For 18 months, football went without fans. Empty seats in stadiums became the norm. But as lockdown restrictions began to disappear, the final of Euro 2020 offered a joyous welcome home. It was meant to be a day of national pride, with a sellout stadium and England's first major men's final since 1966. However, the events that day quickly took a turn. These seeds of bad behaviour saw 39 arrests, tarnishing any chance of a happy homecoming. Jack was one of the supposedly lucky ones who got a ticket.
People were very drunk, excited, but I think they've been drinking all day. I mean, the game was kicking off at, I can't remember the kick-off time, at 8 o'clock in the evening, so the atmosphere did seem a bit different to the games I've been to before. Through the second half it was. Some guy had kind of come and stood next to me, so he clearly didn't have a seat, or he'd lost where he was. He was completely off his head. I don't know if it was drink or drugs or whatever. He didn't know where he was, but he was just screaming like chants on his own. It was funny at first, but then next minute I felt a little bit of blood like splat on me, and other people felt the same.
In the aftermath of the game, the Casey inquiry was commissioned to report on what went wrong that day. It said fans returned recklessly, police were less experienced, and stewarding numbers had diminished during the 3 lockdowns, creating what Baroness Casey calls a perfect storm caused by the pandemic. Many hoped this would be a one-off, a readjustment that would be smoothed over by the start of the season, but instead it set the tone. When I first went back to football as a fan, something definitely seemed to have changed. Something seemed a bit off. It seemed a bit unpleasant. And I wanted to find out whether that was the case for football, whether after COVID there was an increase in fan disorder. Mid-season statistics published by the UK Footballing Policing Unit supported my suspicion that post-COVID football had changed. Since the return of fans, there's been a 36% increase in reported incidents of disorder when compared to the pre-lockdown season of 2019-2020, with football-related arrests rising by 47%, going up from 547 to a record high of 802, forcing the police to expand their presence at games by 20%. Chief Constable Mark Roberts is the head of the policing unit responsible for these statistics.
So I think what we've certainly seen since fans returned to football after COVID is an increase in disorder, increase in violence, pyrotechnics. There's a significant increase in the number of games that policing are now involved in, so it's gone from just over half, getting up to 2/3 where there's some sort of police involvement. That costs us a lot of money. So when we've done a big costing exercise where we costed every match for a given season, I think it ran out that we were subsidising football to the tune of around £40 million a year.
But behind these statistics are victims who just wanted to return to the game they love. John has been a Chelsea fan since 1968. In February, he went to Wembley to watch his team in the League Cup final against Liverpool.
I think I was complacent. I think I just thought, well, there isn't trouble nowadays, or unlikely to be trouble. And lots of fans were making their way up Wembley Way, no issues. And then there was some chanting going on, some goading between Chelsea fans and Liverpool fans. And really, that stuff that both sides have heard many, many times before. And this guy kind of took exception to it. And then, literally, he appeared in front of me. And I just said, "Go away, mate." I wasn't rude to him. I just asked him to go away. All of a sudden I saw a blur around the corner of my eye and got clocked on the jaw, which cracked the jaw up here and it displaced it the other side. It still stiffens up. It's still not 100%. but I'm beginning to able to kind of eat more solid food.
Whilst it's clear there has been a rise in disorder, its cause is still up for debate. Dr. Steve Fosdick is a football safety expert who, with the return of fans, has seen an emergence of a new generation.
Well, there's no doubt that after COVID, what we've seen, I think, is small numbers of young people who've never been to football before. So perhaps clubs might find they've got a group of 30 to 50 young people, 16 years old to 20 years old, who didn't go to football before, but are coming to football now and simply don't know how to behave because they didn't have the background.
A catalyst for fan disorder has always been a fierce rivalry. The hatred between AFC Wimbledon and MK Dons stems from Wimbledon's original club moving to Milton Keynes. 20 years later, Wimbledon have returned to their native home, Plough Lane, and today has an extra bite to the game as MK Dons play there for the first time. The Woodman is a family pub that's having to take extra precautions on the advice of the police.
They've issued an amber warning, so it means we have to up our games in terms of our responsibility to everyone when it comes to that. They think there's going to be a few problems, which is why we've had to prepare as much as possible with that. So plastic glasses, we get security in, we sort of choose between which team that we're going to focus on more.
2 hours before kick-off, the quietness outside Earlsfield train station quickly changes with the arrival of MK Don supporters to their away pub. The scene is tense, with scores of policing separating the two sets of fans.
We just walked from Earlsfield station past what is known as the away pub, and it is getting loud, I'd say. It's getting very loud, and I think, as we've been saying before, there is definitely a younger generation at football games compared to what I've experienced.
45 minutes before kick-off, the police begin to move the away fans towards the ground, with a technique known as kettling. This seeks to protect the public from violence by escorting the fans. The atmosphere begins to change as MK Dons are taken past two packed Wimbledon pubs.
Just arrived at the new Plough Lane Stadium. AFC Wimbledon versus MK Dons has just kicked off. And before the game, we were walking down with the MK Dons fans from Earlsfield Station, just from outside their designated pub. And before we got there, we weren't expecting so much noise, so much intimidation between the two groups of supporters. I think the main takeaway is that people we were speaking to along the way, people just going around their daily business, nipping to the shop, going for brunch, getting some coffee, were scared.
Fan disorder like this, which according to the Met Police led to 6 arrests, is a key example of what is seen more and more often at football. MK Don supporters told us a factor in this disorder came from the police failing to coordinate travel plans to the ground. They said, unfortunately, despite several requests from us to the club, we had no interaction whatsoever with the police or the club regarding matchday arrangements. We contacted the Met Police for their response. They said a policing plan was in place, but didn't comment on whether they communicated with fans beforehand. This style of policing has brought criticism from the Football Supporters Association.
I mean, there's lots of very good cops out there. That there's still an element of over-policing football fans. If you go to any event, generally, other than football, it's treated as a community event. And likewise, the police, maybe don't stop to think, hang on a minute, these are our community. This is a really good opportunity for us to engage with our community. But that, too often than not, doesn't happen because I think there's a problem that football fans aren't seen as decent, ordinary people. They are seen as a potential public order problem.
This is not the only concern raised. There are even doubts about the reliability of arrest statistics.
The numbers of arrests are not a good barometer of the extent of violence. And the reason is this. On some occasions, there may be a lot of violence and the police may choose to disperse the crowd and not make any arrests at all. So you've had a large number of people engaging in violence, but no arrests. On another occasion, there may be no violence and the police may decide to make a number of preventive arrests to stop a situation escalating.
Although Mark Roberts accepts the police force may be rusty, he defends his officers.
I do balk at the accusation that the increase in disorder is driven by the police. The police are responding to the behaviour that we've got to deal with. Whilst it's entirely possible that post-COVID there might have been some rust on police operations, there isn't enough stewarding, we're needing to respond to that. The primary driver for this is bad behaviour. And when you saw some of the appalling behaviour at Wembley, you know, it isn't the police that make people get drunk, take drugs, throw bottles and cans at people. It's not the police that cause people to assault stewards who are just trying to do the job. It's not the police who get fans to threaten, abuse and assault disabled supporters who are trying to get into the ground so that they can get in.
As Mark Roberts identifies, stewarding after COVID is a key issue, and according to the Football Safety Officers Association, there has been a serious depletion in the number of stewards.
There's probably about 50,000 SIA qualified stewards that have kind of vanished post-Brexit. A lot of those people have moved on. They've found other forms of employment. They might even be Deliveroo or Just Eat, taking pizzas to people. But they can take more pizzas to people and make more money than working as a steward. When you add to that the increase in disorder, why would you want to do it? I don't know.
The impact of this can be seen at the top level of the game. David Lewis, head of security at Everton, has lost over 100 stewards since COVID.
The staff feel under pressure because they'll say, I haven't got enough people. Some will even say sometimes I haven't got enough people to open the stand-up. What we've not seen post-COVID is hand-to-hand supporter fighting. But what we have seen is more of an attitude that is anti-authoritarian. The sort of things that we have seen arising have been people running on the pitch, throwing bottles has seen a massive increase in that this season. We had an incident over in that corner when Aston Villa scored and someone threw a bottle on and hit one of the Aston Villa players. The final one would be, say, confrontation levels, people trying to do what they want. I've had one steward assaulted this year at a game. It's worse, but it's not hit a level of organised disorder where we've seen knives used and that type of thing.
Although it's not organised violence, this post-COVID phenomena of fan disorder is affecting innocent bystanders, meaning solving it is crucial. The Casey report made several recommendations surrounding preventative measures when controlling football fans. These include a new category for football matches of national significance, a review into stewarding, an agreement on who is responsible for events outside the stadium, a national campaign to bring about a change in attitudes towards supporters' behaviour, and stronger penalties for football-related disorder. Lord Bassam of Brighton is the shadow spokesperson for sport and has been working on fan safety since Euro 2000.
What do you think needs to be done to control fans?
I still don't think the game is fan-centred enough, and I think until fans feel better represented in the sort of governance and management of the game, I think it's always going to be a struggle really to keep them on side. We also need to try and appeal to the best in any football fan really, and try and manage any public security risk as best we can. Otherwise, the game loses its point really.
This increase in fan disorder has resulted from the readjustment to the post-COVID world. There's agreement that there is no one culprit in the rise. Fans, stewards and police have all played a part. And without tough action and collaboration, this issue won't go away.
And if the problem drops down again, well, everyone will be delighted. But hope isn't a strategy, and we need to be taking positive action.